Hi, Tuesday's edition of the program Shagalinku. My name is Ambassador Emmanuel Gabari, and yes, we're streaming live in three destinations on Shagalinku TV Facebook page, on Shagalinku YouTube page, and lastly on my page, Ambassador Emmanuel Gabari. And for those of you who already like our Shagalinku TV social media handles, you would have seen the flyers and that of our guests also sharing the flyers on their social media handle. Today, we're looking at a very important thing that's happening across Nigeria, but particularly in the Niger Delta. I know there's a whole lot of issues, in the Niger Delta, gas flaring, environmental degradation. A whole lot is really happening in Niger Delta, and a lot of the citizens there are also crying out for help, asking the government that the normal farming and fishing that Niger Delta is known for is gradually declining because a lot of farmers and fishers can't go to the farm or the rivers to do all that. Anyway, today we'll be looking at a very important issue, and that's the importance of mangroves restoration in Nigeria, particularly when we're extracting Niger Delta. I'm not alone in this discourse. I have the gurus here who will be throwing more light on this issue. And yes, we're also celebrating and talking about the environment and talking about how we can live a clean, free environment, so to say. A lot is really happening, and people are worried that just from one issue to another, and it seems like we're not getting it right. Just when we're trying to tackle one angle, another angle is happening. Anyway, I have joining me Mr. Abu Stephen Enojo. He's from CSDevNet. I also have Jiata Ugwah Ekele, also from CSDevNet. And lastly, I have Freeman Elohor, Oluowo. I hope I got that name right. He's from ACCARD. So together, three of them will be talking about this very, very important issue. You can also join us. Drop a comment on the comment section beneath, or you drop it on our SMS line that is scrolling on the screen, plus 234-8054383460. And if you have questions for our guests, they'll be answering it, and together we'll be doing this together. Anyway, let me start with the lady. They say ladies first. So, gentlemen, let's be good gentlemen and allow the lady. Jetta, a lot is said about our topic of discussion. But before I go on to talk with Freeman and Stephen, I'd like you to tell us a little about what you think is, or what our viewers need to know about what mangroves are, and we'll take it up from there.
Alright, hello everyone. So good to be on Shagalinku TV this afternoon. We're talking about restoration of mangroves in Nigeria, particularly the Niger Delta region. When we talk about mangroves, mangroves are just trees or shrubs that grow along coastal, the saline. They have this special feature of having numerous tangled roots, and then at the top they have they form a dense thickets. When we talk about mangroves, let me just outline the basic importance of this mangrove. Mangroves, because of I just described the roots. Yeah, on the screen you see pictures of the mangrove, the special roots features. Those roots they help to prevent erosion along the coastal lines. And mangroves are the only kinds of plants that can grow along coastal because they have high tolerance to acidity. The oceans are known to have a high amount of salt, and not every plant can grow at that region. But these mangroves, they grow on brackish water. That is how God made them, and they actually act as sieves. They help purify the that area, the water, the soil, and the all of that in that particular area. These mangroves, their roots stabilizes the sediments of the rocks, and like I said, they prevent erosion. They also prevent floods and storms in that or waves coming from the ocean that are coming from the ocean in that region. These these mangroves, they grow very high, they grow like trees, and their leaves are very dense. They have multiple roots and they are very strong, rooted in the ground, and that is why they can have this function. Besides all these features, they serve as nurseries to to fishes, to because fishes scientifically speaking, fishes, they lay very large amounts of eggs. They are fertilized, but not all of them grow to maturity because of predation in the water bodies. But when mangroves are available in such places, mangroves can actually act as places that these little fingerlings or fishes can have an abode to grow and mature. But this is not available. They can not by predators before they even get to maturity. Consequently, this increases diversity in some regions. Yes, so the importance of mangroves are very, very vast and enormous. Mangroves have trees, like I said, they have roots, and these roots, when used sustainably in such areas, act as they can be used for furnitures and other things. So these are just what we should know basically about mangroves.
Okay, thank you very much. Before I come to Stephen Abu, I'd also like to ask Freeman a few more questions. Freeman, you live in Niger Delta. A whole lot is happening, aside the mangrove issue now that we are sensitizing people about. I also know that in Port Harcourt, they are battling with the issues of suits and a whole lot, even in Warri and other parts people can barely fish or farm. So, what is really the situation, the current situation in Nigeria, particularly in Niger Delta? Yeah, Freeman, can you hear me?
Okay, you were breaking asking that question. I don't think. Could you just run through it again, please?
The situation. Okay, so I was asking the situation of things in Niger Delta. I know there's a whole lot of issues that Niger Delta is currently going through. So can you hear me now?
Yes, fine.
Niger
Yes,
Delta.
I think I can understand. But the truth is,
I
it's like
know
you are
there's a
echoing
whole
back.
lot of issues.
Ambassador, I think you're on mute, sir.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay. Yeah, I can you hear me now?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, so I actually had to mute myself to see if Freeman can hear, but strangely, I think it was echoing. So, Freeman, would like you to come back and let's address the issue how the Niger Delta currently is going through the mangroves issue. But let me come to Stephen, and I know Jetta has said a couple of things concerning what our viewers need to know about mangrove and its importance. So, could you explain the way Niger Delta can restore mangrove? Because a whole lot is happening, and I wish a lot of people from Niger Delta could just send us messages and let's also hear from them firsthand some of the things that are really going on. Aside erosion and others, there's still the issue where the Ijaw people can hardly farm But Steve, just take us through what you think can be done about the Niger Delta mangrove issues.
Well, thank you very much for having me on Shagalinku TV this afternoon. Thank you, Ambassador Emmanuel. It's a wonderful opportunity to be here and particularly discussing about the restoration of the mangrove, particularly in the Niger Delta region. In addition to some of the things said by a colleague, Jiata, I want you to know that the mangrove is so important, and there are diverse ways that the mangrove helps in the fight against climate change, and of course, pollution generally of even the water body. But particularly Niger Delta. Why Niger Delta? It is obvious that Nigeria uh, owns the largest mangrove in the whole of Africa. And about 60% of these mangroves are found around the Niger Delta region. Uh, and of course, when we focus on the restoration of the mangroves in the Niger Delta region, we may be having not less than 60% success in the restoration of our mangroves. Uh, I want to quickly highlight that, like many other policies, many other interventions in Nigeria, one of the reasons why they fail is because that inclusive participatory framework is always lacking. Now, when a federal government project or federal government comes up with a project and all they think is to invade the community and say, this is what we are going to do, without adequate plan of the participatory framework in such a way that it will be all inclusive with the community, having the sense of ownership of the project, having the sense of duty and responsibility, that project most times will fail. I think if the project, the restoration of the mangroves in the Niger Delta is going to succeed, federal government should think of an all-inclusive participatory framework. What do I mean by that? A situation whereby when you come, you don't just come and then you start a nursery, or you come with seedlings, and you say you want to start planting trees, and then you come and do like the normal government work. You hit the ground, and then on the media we get to see you everywhere that actually you were in the side and something was put on ground, and after that the project folds up. If we are going to record success in the restoration of these mangroves in the Niger Delta region, and of course every other region in Nigeria, we should look forward to a framework that will include the local communities, these people that depend on these mangroves for their livelihood. What do we do? How can you? The first thing, of course, must start with sensitization, awareness, for them to actually know the benefit of the mangroves, for them also to know that there is an alternative source of livelihood. There is a way they can live without destroying the environment. Now, when you bring these people to table and then you negotiate with them, you discuss with them, project from scratch. Let them begin the care of the nursery of these trees. Let them also be part of the people that should be probably given incentives to regrow the mangroves area, the coastal region. Let them also have the sense of responsibility of securing, of watching that the project succeed. There's what we call tree planting, and there's what we call tree growing. Now, what we do most of the times is just to do tree planting. Now, you plant a tree and there is no sustainability plan. And of course, truly, you have planted a tree, but you don't care what happened a year or 2 years after, which is a typical example of what we do most times as agencies. But tree growing involves these community people watching over the trees as they grow, tending them, and they grow to maturity. I think you can see that in this whole processes of restoring the mangroves, the people themselves should be deeply involved from the scratch to the finish. Thank you very much.
Okay, I see that Freeman is back. So, Freeman, if you can hear us now, I'd like you to. Jiata started off by explaining to our viewers what mangrove is. Stephen has also come to talk about a few more things on the importance. So, I'd like you to just give an overview of everything generally, particularly as it affects the Niger Delta. I was telling you before when you couldn't hear that Niger Delta has a whole lot of issues surrounding it. The suits in Port Harcourt, in Warri, and some parts of Ijaw land, farmers or fishermen hardly can go for their fishing because a lot of damage has been done to their waterways. So, Freeman, take us through some of the overviews of what you think about mangrove restoration.
Yeah, thank you very much. I hope you can hear me now. So the issue is I would like to actually look at, though Jaita talked about mangrove and the origin, it is also very important for us to understand that mangrove are unique trees, a unique plant that are kind of particular to certain environment. And if you look at it, they say they are endemic. So in the Niger Delta, for instance, mangrove grow particularly in coastal saline and brackish water. And if you look at Nigeria, for example, it is only in the Niger Delta you can find mangroves. And Nigeria has housed the largest amount of mangrove forest area. And there is a uniqueness about the mangrove. Mangrove are habitat for biota, meaning fish life, that is animal and plants. They provide a lot of habitat for their existence and also for animals. So if you look at the problem in the Niger Delta, starting historically from oil and gas activity that has been operating for the past about 55 years now on a massive scale, and the Niger Delta house most of the activities of the oil and gas industries in the country, and nobody's in doubt. Oil sales has been the mainstay of Nigerian economy. So the federal government attention and the attention of to boost economic growth has been to extract more of oil. For this reason, there have been an intensive extraction of mineral resources in the Niger Delta. And where do you find mangrove are found in an environment where you find high level of mineral resources of oil? Because in the mangrove you have plants that dies, you will have animals that dies, and you will have fermentation that takes place. It is the combination of these things in the fossilization of of plant and animal that we see what we have petroleum resources today. So you can see that mangrove also contributes to the oil reserve and oil resources we have. But sadly, oil and gas activities, the kind of extraction we have seen over the years, they have done it at the detriment of the environment. They have actually not done a proper environmental planning during oil and gas exploration and exploitation, and during processing that has to involve with oil and gas flaring. So if you come to the Niger Delta, for instance, you will still see flaring of gases using high stacks, wherein we saw that high stacks are supposed to be modified through technology improvement or through equipment changes and new technology advancement. It is still unfortunate that you come to the Niger Delta, you see flaring. So it is not strange that in Port Harcourt City, in all through last year, there were black suits, and black suit is as a result of this flaring of gases and burning of oil. And what has made it worse is that in the region, we still have a lot of illegal oil mining. And this illegal oil mining is carried out by the locals, by indigenous people, whereby they just have crude way through drums, they set fire. And where do they do these activities? It is still within the mangrove. They cut down mangroves, they set fire and put this crude oil, which they have vandalized or extracted from some of the pipes, taking them for processing or to other parts of the country. They put it in drums and they refine it crude in a very unmonitored way. At that, they burn, destroy mangroves, and that adds not just to the mangrove destruction, also it destroys the land where they farm, also the water. So the situation in the Niger Delta has to do with a pure attitude change, a pure and standard wherein the Nigeria federal government through the oil governance body, which is the NOSRIA, and the Federal Ministry of Environment, who come together and implement standard. We have this standard on papers, wherein you can't see them on the field is becoming too much of an issue. Now, the simple analogy of the whole thing is, before every company comes to a region or start operation, there is what we refer to as environmental impact assessment, where this is a scientific research that involves interaction with the community and other relevant stakeholders to look at the environment you are coming to explore, and look at where it was initially, and when you cite the environment and you start projecting what could happen to the environment, which we call environmental change over time. And also we are looking at climate change. Then in that document, when it's prepared, the community will come, everybody will look at the document that is reviewed. They look at conservation of mangrove. In that document, you will see mangrove conservation and biodiversity conservation. And in that document, the people will agree also on alternative livelihood and how they can gainfully benefit from alternative income streams and sources. But the truth is, this document has been approved, it has been signed, the company start operating. What in that same document, there are what we call post-impact assessment plan. These plans are not being taken care of. The moment they start, they jettison those plans they have said in 2 years, in 3 years, in 5 years, in 10 years, in 20 years, this is what we will do. So when you look at the corporate social responsibility that they have all abandoned, and the federal government cannot monitor adequately because they hardly go to the field, and some of the regulators are already being compromised. They just stay in their hotel and they collect the money. And the saddest part is this: the oil and gas companies, the community people are also involved in this mess, because there is no way you can come to my house and locate a thing that I have kept without you first of all asking me, or for me showing you first where they are kept. There are some high chiefs, traditional rulers, and influential people from the region who are involved in this mess, collecting money, wherein you see an environment where they are supposed to maybe take care of 10, they take care of just 2. So when this just influential feel comfortable, they forget about the implementation of the post-impact assessment. So this is why mangrove destruction that has helped the region to provide alternative food, because I tell you the truth, if you find fishes in the river, mangrove have a contribution. If you need to breathe fresh air, mangrove has a contribution. If you need also to see habitat maybe for birds, you also need some of these mangroves. So if you look at the system provisioning, all are getting being lost either by these oil and gas activities, which has increased the activities of climate change, including to deforestation. So in the whole of Niger Delta, as we speak, the region that was once known to be rich in biodiversity and one of the most diverse forested area and species is fast losing these heritages. So that is why we are looking at this topic today in a way that we can speak to ourselves to look at how best we can start managing mangrove area, looking at the advantages. So we are losing mangrove, it is true, not just to the oil and gas activities, to illegal mining, to deforestation and cutting. Ambassador, sorry, let me quickly take this quick picture before I stop here. One, you in the Niger Delta, for instance, in Bayelsa State, no, let me just go a general analogy. We need to start looking at our forestry laws. We need to start looking at our land rights. I say this because if you come to Bayelsa State, for example, wherein the government will just place in the hand of very few persons who supported them politically to be taking care of the forest, logging activities. They who are not forest managers or trained people, all they are interested in is revenue. It's the cutting of the mangrove for furnitures or for tree or for wood. They don't consider the other advantages or the implication it will have on the environment. So I'm sure maybe in the course of our conversation, we'll have more reasons to look at forest art, land rights, and how we can best preserve our mangrove in this era of we losing it in the Niger Delta and some of the advantages. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Elohor. Um, Even though we're still getting a little distorted sound, but then we heard all you said. Now, I'll come to Stephen before I'll bring in Jiata once again. I'd like Stephen to address a few issues because while Freeman was talking, it just dawned on me that what is the role of lots of the oil companies that used to be there? I don't know how many are still there because they also complained that the citizens, the youth of the community, also chased some of them away, also kidnapped some of their expatriates and all that. So, what's the place of corporate social responsibility that the oil companies or foreign organizations that are situated in this Niger Delta and oil producing states? What are they supposed to be doing, which they are not also doing? Because Freeman just mentioned too that a lot of bunkery, illegal bunkery, is happening at the bank of where many of the mangroves plantations are. So, what should we begin to even do differently in the Niger Delta, Steve?
Well, thank you very much for coming back to me. And thank you, Mr. Freeman Elohor, for that explicit presentation. I so much like most of the points highlighted. Carefully, if you listen to Freeman, you discover that a number of issues were raised from what he said. For example, it's not as though there are no laws in place. It's not as if these companies really do not know what to do. Of course, let's be fair. We've heard from some of these companies in the past, and it's not as though they are not willing to do what is expected or what is required. But like Freeman rightly say, it's like a lot of things have been politicized, so much that these companies releases fund, and most times they want indigenes to actually participate in the project. But what happened is that when the money is being released, some of them will just eat the money, and then the work will not be done. So really the money is going somewhere, but the work is not being done. And at that point, what I think government should do is, while the companies on their own are releasing this money probably for the sake of the ease of doing business in that region, I strongly also believe that it is the corporate responsibility of the government to ensure the safety and the progress of her citizens. Now, what is the government supposed to do in a situation like this? I believe these companies also generate revenue that goes directly to the government, either at the state level, and I'm not sure of that of federal level, but I want to believe they also have a fair share. So when this money gets there, since we know that this is a project that we must embark on. For example, in some months ago in 2020, when they were marking the World Mangrove Restoration or Conservation Day, the Federal Minister of State on Environment, Mrs. Sharon Ikazo, did announce that they want to go into the restoration of the mangroves of the Niger Delta region. And I don't really know, maybe Freeman will update us. Till now, I don't know if any meaningful step has been taken. And even if something is going on, how far have they gone? And with that level of pace, what do you think we can do? You see, we are looking forward to doing things differently. Federal government take the lead and then let the people be carried along. That is the only way we can achieve this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll bring in Jetta now. I'd like her to look at some of these things from the female angle of what women can also do in contributing their quota to restoration of mango. Because we could talk about these issues from now to tomorrow, but where there is no gender inclusion in any aspect of our development, we just might be losing out of some of those instances. So, Jetta, if you can hear me, I'd like you to also let us know the role women can play in this whole issue of restoration. And then later, I'll bring Freeman to also talk about some of the very burning issues. He's talked about gas flaring, and I remember when I opened up the show today, I also talked about some worrisome development that's also bedeviling the Niger Delta as a whole. But quickly, before Jetta comes to say her views, let me quickly acknowledge Chokida Semlek from Kaduna also just liked our video. Chioma Kano from Abuja also just liked the video. And Usman Samson Adojo, Agada Levy Paul, it's good to know that you're all watching. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, Jetta, over to you.
All right. The role of women in addressing or advancing any course of action cannot be underestimated. We really need a gender integrative approach when we're talking about this mangrove restoration in Nigeria or anywhere across the globe. Even IUCN highlighted that women are key players to mangrove restoration. So I'll just talk about a few things like key activities that women can actually lead when we talk about this gender integrative approach to mangrove restoration. One is that we have when you go to villages or places that are close to those coastal lines, you find fisher women there, and you find women that harvest some of the woods from these mangroves for firewood. You also have different activities that women play that are negatively impacting the restoration or the growth of these mangroves across that region. So I would recommend that these women, fisher women or women that are cutting woods for firewood and the likes, these women can be trained and equipped to have a sustainable source of livelihoods. If they have alternatives that are sustainable, they wouldn't do such. If they have renewable energy sources and they have access to other forms of apparatus or equipment for cooking other than firewood, they wouldn't go to cut down mangrove trees for firewood or send their children, their boys, their girls to go cut down these mangrove trees. So that is one point. And then when we talk about some line of action, like Mr. Stephen was saying, that we don't just want tree planting. Government can do some interventions and then go to these communities to plant trees, and they will flood all the pictures here and there across the social media and even the broadcasting networks. Yes, but what about the sustainable tree growing? You can equip the women, integrate them into this process so that they can follow it up. And women have a role to, they cultivate the children. They are the ones that the children listens to, and they stay with the children, stay with all the time. So they are the ones to, teach and educate the children. Okay, you're supposed to do this, you're not supposed to do that. They're the ones to say, have you watered to sow this thing today? Or have you taken care of, have you put sticks around that tree that was planted the other day to stop goats from going there? Have you done this? Have you done that? They are the ones to follow up. But if you don't integrate them into this process, or you don't even educate them, no sensitization of any sort, how do you expect them to be in this process? So we're actually talking about a gender integrative approach that doesn't just recognizes women as just a passive project beneficiaries. No, we're talking about women being active drivers of change towards conservation, towards sustainable development, and having their own sustainable livelihoods. Just to add to what my colleagues have been saying, right now in Nigeria, we don't have a policy that is targeted towards mangrove restoration. Particular policy. We have different environmental policies that are, will I say, they are consensus, that they are generalized. But I think in Nigeria right now, we need a mangrove conservation policy that will restrict exploitation of the mangrove. Yes, and these are just my points.
Okay, thank you so much, Jiata. I'll bring in Freeman to also talk about a few things that Stephen highlighted. But first of all, let me also say that you can drop your comments, your questions for our guests on the comment section, and we'll be reading it out for them. But this is just to acknowledge Usman Samson Adojo. It says thanks and thank you too. So this one is here. I think either of you or all of you can reply. It says tree planting is beyond just taking pictures, but the need to take more action. So before I go on to ask you question, Freeman, could you all just respond to what Ibrahim Yusuf had just said in 30 seconds, each of you? So let me start with Freeman.
Right. Thank you very much. Yeah, the question looking at tree planting, yes, I completely agree with you that tree planting should just go beyond taking pictures. Now, there is one mistake we have always made as a people and as a country. If you look at tree planting, it is an adaptive way of managing climate change. It is not done in Nigeria alone. If this picture taking is only done mostly in our country, they are doing that for propaganda, and they are doing that just to show initiative and also write proposals and show to the outside world that what you are giving us grant or giving us fund to for we have done it. So it's actually beyond just picture taking. We must learn how to give ownership. Steve made mention of it, inclusiveness. We must give ownership. There's no way you can plant trees. For instance, in Abuja, how many large area of land can you have mango tree for instance, trees? You have them more in the communities. So if you want to do that, even in Abuja, there are indigenous people to Abuja, there are indigenous people in Lagos State, for example, are living in this coastal area or this community where there are trees. So when you want to do this, you appoint somebody to do tree planting, you bring it from the city, you just come, identify one person in the community, give some money or talk to the traditional ruler, plant and go back. The moment they plant, You have forgotten to leave ownership, discuss the importance, and monitor these trees that you have planted. And you come back to those trees in 2 months, they are all dead. But you have taken your photographs, they are on Twitter, they are on Facebook, you have documented them to write your report. So I tell you the truth, like who asked the question, the picture taken, it is in your country. It is happening just here. Nigeria, for example, has said we want to plant, how many trees our president said was going to plant? About 50,000 trees. Just go and find out how many trees have we planted. The minister will come and say we are going to afforestate mangroves in the Niger Delta. Did you work out this plan with the people? Did you give ownership to them? Did you get them included in your plan? Then how did you plant? Did the minister go to the Niger Delta to plant, or he was in one of the comfort talking this thing? So we must have to look at this whole thing. Picture taking is happening just in Nigeria. I have seen Rwanda, I have seen Kenya, I have seen places even in Ghana on road planting trees. But in your country, in Nigeria, which is our country, we still build roads, we still develop without putting trees there. So that is where I say you are right to say it should go beyond picture taking. It should be an all-inclusive business. It should be a thing that all of us should get involved. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I'll bring um, Steve to also talk. Freeman, it will shock you too that they also take pictures and do hullabaloo when they launch boreholes. You know, when they give sanitizers to students, they call NTA and all the media houses and come and dance Koroso dance just for sharing sanitizer.
Yeah, because that is international fund have come. The international world has told us, don't mitigate, adapt. And one way to adapt, plant trees. And when they tell you to plant trees, they give you money. So you want to tell them back, I've implemented the money you have given to me. They take picture and send to them. So it's just a business as usual.
Yeah, Stephen, I know the last time I had you on the show, we were also talking about a few issues, and you really showed some pains where you say, even when we talk about solar energy and all that, politicians just go put 2, 3 panels, snap pictures, and call for a dance meeting. Everyone dances, jubilates, and then everyone goes home. And yet, the village man can't see light on their street. So, what do you have to say about Yusuf Ibrahim's comment here, Steve?
Thank you, Ambassador. And also thank you, Yusuf Ibrahim. It's like you are trying to make me to do another statement, just like the one quoted by Ambassador. And exactly that is what I'm going to do. I remember the last time on the show, what we did say is that the kind of energy transition we are clamoring for is not for a senator to go to the village and put 4 street lights on a community without streets and then take pictures and tell us they are being powered by solar. Well, likewise, Yusuf, you know what your question is going to make me tell somebody now. Permit me to tell somebody right away that what you do and you call tree planting, and after 4 years you are out of office and we cannot find a trace, is not what we are discussing here. What we are talking about is where we can come back to take another picture after 6 years that you have left the office, after another 8 years, after another 10 years, and we can now say those trees that were planted when you were in office, now they are now taking a step towards tree growing and the kind of restoration we are talking about. So enough of taking pictures of guava and pawpaw in a leather that you are just putting in the soil, and after that we cannot trace the success. So thank you, Ambassador.
I think Yusuf is just shaking the table and looking for your trouble, but it's okay. Okay, so I'll bring Jiata in. I'd like her to read one of the messages that came in here too. And thank you, Yusuf Ibrahim, for that. So Jiata, if you can see this on the screen, can you kindly read this and let's see if we can get response from all of you. Steve, I think you can just help us out. Jetta is not there. I'd like one of you to read the message on the screen from Agada Levy Paul, and then we can respond to them.
All right, thank you, Mr. Agada Levi Paul. He said the agencies and government policy makers who advocate for tree plantings and nature restorations should start from doing rather than talking. Urbanization and urban renewals, a case study of what's going on in Kaduna, also affects nature. Government offices must not all be in the urban areas or concentrated in a particular area. That's a very smart one from Agada. He's talking about how these projects can be domesticated. Now, you can imagine the level of care we give to our state capitals. You can imagine the level of security. I think there was a law recently in FCT that once you cut a tree standing in front of your house without permission, you will be arrested and fined. Oh no, imagine now if some of the federal government agencies or even the state present is also around this important. Mind you, when we talk about these mangrove regions, particularly in the Niger Delta, they are very important to us as a nation. I don't know why our government is not taking it seriously. We all know the situation of the country at the moment. You know how difficult the times have been. And a number of these people in this community depend on these mangrove areas for their livelihood, from fishing to cutting of timber, except for the excessive without replanting. You talk about, I was shocked during one of my research to discover that about 60 to 70% of the fishes we find along the Gulf of Guinea actually come to reproduce in the mangroves in Niger Delta before they can now spray across this Gulf of Guinea. That is a whole lot. You know what we are making from this. So why won't government take it so seriously? Why shouldn't we have a federal government presence in that kind of region? Why shouldn't we have a state presence in that kind of region that should help monitor and take care of this project for it to succeed? So the action should not just be relegated. The responsibility should not be left in the hand of one person. So if I get what Levi was talking about, is that it should be, like I said from the beginning, that the action of nature restoration should be an all-inclusive process. Thank you.
Yes, Ambassador Gabari, I would like to
Yes,
make a
please
quick
go
add
on.
to what Steve has said. Yes, I think Steve had nailed it, and he was very appropriate, but I just want to add. Now, until a country like Nigeria start looking at alternative income sources away from oil, you know, oil is just a lazy man way of making money and taking care of your economy. Natural resources are supposed to be blessings, not curses, wherein you just have these ones and you find a way of processing them and adding. It is difficult. It is not right. You find any economy in the world that is even oil producing that depends almost solely on oil and gas. This is where our problem is. Because we have decided to rely solely on oil as our major income of financing the budget, they will keep destroying mangrove, they will keep neglecting other things. Well, shockingly, we just have to be saying the truth most of these times, you know. Shockingly, it will shock you to know that Nigeria are only planting trees because it is part of the international proclamation, international agreement we have entered into, and it is part of the things they need to add in writing proposals. Because if you don't add it, they don't give you money, either from the World Bank, Adaptation Fund, AFDB. That is why we are planting trees. Beside that, we don't have any interest planting trees. I'd ask somebody, what does it make? For instance, you go to a mangrove or go to a forested area, you want to build a university. you will first of all cut down all the trees. You want to build a universities, maybe of agriculture or a full-fledged conventional university. You will first of all cut down all the trees. Then you will build the department, the hostels. Then you start planting trees that are of no value. Or you import or you buy more expensive tree. Why can't we do this? Do a proper planning that, okay, we can build this here, let's take away this. That is selective, even selective construction. So we have to even look at our built designs, built knowledge, you know, because I've seen a place whereby they are building a full university or a hospital. They just cut down all the trees. And in Mangroves that were there, they put the hospital. After a while, they said the place is hot. They now started, they gave somebody contract again to plant trees. So you see, this kind of culture will never stop until we change our mentality. And our country has failed to understand that there is another alternative way of making money. Fisheries. You see this water we play with. Nigeria has a very large mass, about 30 nautical mile, undisputed water area. You understand? 200 nautical miles into the high seas, an exclusive zone onto Nigeria. And this region is rich. If they tell you the resources that we can even find in the waters, which science have been able to discover that they are already investing in, Nigeria, even this oil we are even talking about today, they have better fuel inside the ocean. They call it hydrogranites. You understand me? If we decide to even invest in our waterways, ocean, marine waters, and fisheries, how much is Nigeria gaining? It is only foreign boats, foreign vessels that come to the shores of Nigeria, pick our fishes, give money to the rural people, employ some of the rural people, and they catch, they go. The only people we have is artisanal fishermen, small holders fishermen who just set hooks. We have covered the mangrove, they easily can't get fishes again. They now go far. So not until we start developing the alternative income sources which the marine and the ocean area can provide. If Nigeria, for instance, decide to go back to agriculture, look at our marine areas and look at the fisheries, everybody will develop. People will not be migrating from rural community to urban. Somebody asked, Steve was saying that people leave communities to the urban city. Yes, you will have to leave because you must feed. You don't need to die. They have destroyed mangrove or they have destroyed your alternative income and they've concentrated power maybe in Abuja or in one place. You have to go and see how you can survive so that you do not die a lazy one. But if, for instance, we decide to have different streams supporting the different sectors, for instance, the marine area, fisheries, agriculture, to grow sincerely. I'm using that word carefully, sincerely, not the type of funding we are having today, whereby they just showcase on the televisions, whereas the writing is not done. So I want to end it here so that we can move on with this conversation by saying that you and me have a role to play, because the federal government comes to your community and identifies somebody in your community to trick the rest people in the community or to shortchange them. The federal government or maybe the oil and the international company you call foreigners, they have an indigenous person in that company that relates with the people that matters in the community and take decisions that are wrongly affecting the people. So we need to come together as a people, as an individual. That is why I say attitude change in the way we do things, in the way we perceive wealth, in the way we look at riches, the way we look at tricking. Even in the midst of giving you a contract to plant trees, you want to even just plant one or two, not maintain them, carry the rest, and go and drive an expensive car, live in an expensive house. So the thing has to do with the way I think, the way you think, and the way we decide to work together to make Nigeria, your community, and your family a happy one and a better place. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Freeman. Okay, we'll be wrapping up now. It's really strange how time flies. So I'll be giving everyone 30 seconds to just say their final words. I know we might just have to do a part 2 of this, but then we need to wrap up now. So I'll start again with Jiata. If you can hear us now, we barely could hear you before. So, Jiata, if you are here, can you, in the next 30 seconds, wrap up on what you think are the importance of mangrove restoration and what we all can do to preserve it?
Am I audible enough now?
Yes, yes, you are. Please go on.
Okay. So I believe that thousands will be going or viewing this section, and just a recap on what we have been saying. We don't want crude oil exploration in the Niger Delta region anymore that will be affecting our mangroves. We want people to have sustainable source of livelihoods that won't affect our mangroves. And we don't want pictorial tree planting, please, government. Civil societies are even trying. They are the ones that are there, they are the ones bridging this gap. But the governments that are collecting the real funding from international bodies that are flashing pictures here and there. Now they are the owners of the TV stations and everything, so they can put anything they want to put there. Please, we don't want pictorial tree planting. I don't know why you people don't even see the importance of these mangroves. If you know that these mangroves are the source of the oxygen you breathe, they are the ones taking the carbon dioxide you are putting into the atmosphere that is causing climate change, you will know that you need to do more of tree planting for your own life, for your family, your children that are coming up to meet this earth. If you want them to have free air, if you want them to have good life, you need to take this thing very seriously. Those children you are sending abroad to go and school, they need clean air, and they can only get that when the air is clean, not um, burdened with carbon dioxide here and there. These mangroves are forests, they are carbon sink, global carbon sink in the countries, especially in the Niger Delta region. And lastly, there should be more sensitization and everything. I want to really thank everyone for their time, and sorry about the network challenges, and my video has been off.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jetta. So I'll bring in Mr. Steven to also, in 30 seconds, just say your final words on what you think we can do to preserve and restore mangroves in Nigeria and Niger Delta.
First and foremost, I want to thank you so much, Ambassador. One thing consistently I have witnessed, I have observed in your programs is that you are so passionate about what we can do differently. And that has always been the center of your question. I remember earlier, Mr. Freeman did mention some of the challenges we encounter in this fight against doing things in a different way. You remember, sometimes ago, I was involved in one project of the forest carbon facility uh, in some communities, forest dependent communities, and their complaints were just similar. What happens is that some people actually there as forest guard, as people who take care of the mangroves area. We have people all over. But what happened is that is simply people who during election somehow aided the power, the person in power to get to that place. So it's like a payback. They just put them there so they can eat some money. So even when they come publicly, the government come publicly to announce that we are not going to permit any form of deforestation. Nobody is going to cut down any tree and whatever. You just see these people there. They are above the law. They are above police. They are above power that be. They just collect money and people just keep cutting down these trees. What do we do? Let effective policy be developed. as we give ownership to these people, let it come with incentive that will make them guard this facility jealously. So it's one of the ways moving forward. And we are asking again, look, in case this is the last thing I will be saying on this program, hear me clearly. What you do, planting a tree or dropping a seedling in the ground and taking pictures flooding everywhere, is not the same thing we are talking about here. What we mean by this restoration is how after 4 years that you are no longer in the office, or after 8 years that you are no longer in the office, we can still trace the progress, the success of the trees planted. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Steve. And yes, I'll bring the last but not the least, Freeman in Niger Delta, to also tell us what you think in 30 seconds, how we can preserve and also restore mangroves in the Niger Delta.
All right. Thank you very much. The conversation will not have enough time to dwell more than this. But the truth is this. We must gradually start seeing how best to separate politics from policy, and also politics. This is what we have done. We must start looking at our land use, the land use system and ownership. We must start looking at them. What does it make when you give a forest reserve to untrained people to just go and drive IGR, which does not totally go to the pocket of the government, but just empower them and bring the ones they can bring to you? So we have to look at our land use systems. COVID-19 has come. Even the federal government is shouting, borrowing everywhere, and almost endangering the future of our generation and generation to come with borrowings. The states are looking for ways to drive IGR. And what they have done today is that anyhow they can get money they want to do. So they are getting worse, deforesting our area to say, okay, so they have left the thing open to people to go and deforest, just pay us maybe the money that comes to government. So it is not all about what we are doing now. We must learn how to create more awareness. We must tell people more the uses of the mangrove. If people know that the fish we eat is being protected and being driven by mangrove, they know that mangrove also protects the area. In the Niger Delta, for instance, today, there are flooding everywhere. Flooding today. If we know that the mangrove that we are cutting can help to slow the movement of flood and also soil erosion, we will always stop doing that. So if we want to do our tree planting, it should be adaptive. It must be attitudinal change. It will be more collective in effort to have everyone move in the same page. So I have a role to play. You have a role to play. Sensitize your immediate family, sensitize your community, and let's stand together in one voice and tell that government that is doing it wrongly to say no. Our mangroves are important. Protect them for us and for our future, because I want my children to see the importance and benefit from this mangrove. Thank you.
Wow, thank you very much, Freeman. And that's all we can take today, but I'll quickly just read a few messages. I'll also wrap up here. This is from Yusuf Ibrahim, a second or third time around. It says, the fact that Nigerian government largely depends on petroleum resources to move its economy has resulted in setbacks of other sources. Government has severally come on media to talk about economic diversification, but nothing to really show for it. Thank you very much, Yusuf. And lastly, you sent another one, and it says, few months ago, the Ministry of Environment flagged up the bioremediation of some mangroves swamp damaged from oil spillage. Okay, and finally you said strong message from Mr. Steve. Well, thank you so much for that. And thanks to everyone who watched. The videos will still be here on YouTube and on Facebook at Shagalinku TV. So you can still watch and share with friends and everyone. Also, like all our social media handles on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook, it is Shagalinku TV. We'll come your way again, God willing, on Saturday, and we'll be looking at COVID and the hesitancy in the vaccine, why a lot of people are not taking the vaccine. And we'll be having an official from NCDC to talk to us about all that, the safety and the efficacy of the vaccine. I'm sure you don't want to miss that, God willing, on Saturday. Anyway, before I go off, let me also thank all my guests who's made it possible for today's episode. Just saying thank you to Abu Stephen Eneojo of CSDevNet, also to Jiata Ugwah, Ekele, also of CSDevNet, and lastly, Freeman, Elohor, Oluowo of ACCARD. And thanks to everyone who joined us and those who will join after now. Sometimes we get viewers join later on because of the time zone from Asia, from US, and other countries and continents. So keep your messages coming. They will also help our guests. We sometimes send them to our guests so they can read and then plan for a part two, and then we come back here and do all that. But remember, the onus lies on you and I to make the country a better place. So do the work and don't just talk the talk. Okay. My name is Ambassador Emmanuel Gabari, urging you to have a beautiful Tuesday and stay blessed, stay safe, and God bless you all. Till I see you all on Saturday, God willing, have a wonderful Tuesday. Bye bye.